Let's look at a section of the Wansu kata from the Isshinryu system, followed by some general bunkai, and then I will focus on what I believe the movements are revealing. There are two questions to be asked here. Why open hand, and how best to use it? Notice the resistance when I try to twist the student's arm. And again, after I do a closed hand mid-body block, he remains strong. But look what happens when I execute a soft or relaxed open hand block. And I want you to notice the difference in my ability to twist the wrist. I'd like to make a distinction between two common terms you'll hear bandied about in traditional martial arts, and that is the hard and the soft. But these terms have slightly different definitions depending upon the level in which you're discussing them. So on one plane, say for a beginner up to mid-level skills, possibly the equivalent of brown belt or Shodan first degree black belt, hard often refers to closed hand and soft to open hand. That's it. It's as simple as that. If you're doing a block with a hand and a fist, you're doing a hard block. If you're doing a block with your hand open, you're doing a soft block. There's another level of interpretation, probably less discussed, in which hard refers to how you are dealing with your own internal energies and the energies of your partner or opponent. Hard here means that you're not letting energy out, or you're not giving somebody access to energy, or you're not able to receive energy. There's reasons why you would want to be in that circumstance. And soft, on the other hand, refers to your ability to receive and transmit a lot of energy. When you hear the term soft hand, it just does not mean the hand is open, but it also means the hand is relaxed. And the more relaxed the hand is, the more receptive the entire arm becomes to receiving ki or transmitting ki. An outside block is always most effective if you're striking 1/3 of the way up on the musculature. I'm going to strike on his wrist. I'm going to test the strength of his hand. Can't really get him to bend. I'm going to go 1/3 up. Notice he can't hold his wrist. But there's something more important than that. I want to make contact on the 1/3, and I want to extend my palm to the point just below the clavicle. There's a depression here. There's a lot of energy accessible to me. So on an out breath, I'm going to come across that third and extend. That is, I'm going to hold my intention to that area. I'm going to look at how this alters his physical strength. But it's not just physical strength for testing his wrist. I'm going to give a base tense and my ability to push him out of a stance. Okay. And I'll give a base test again. And he can't hold that stance as well. We do a base pull. That's right. I'm going to try to pull you out of your stance. Not happening. You're going to throw your punch. This is a whole body drop in energy. There are some who feel locks are difficult to place because people will tighten up. Just twisting someone's wrist without any biomechanical tricks is difficult. This is why the Okinawans believed in the adage, strike to seize control to strike. In this case, I'd like to be able to control his arm to the point where I could pull it down. I'm going to ask Dan to resist me, and I'm going to do a slow pull using the best of my strength. Okay, I'm having a hard time pulling his hand down. Let's take a look at my block with a soft hand coming to that punch. Watch. He can't hold his arm. I want to do that one more time. We would like to hit that 1/3 and tend to that point, but also cause his torso to move. By causing his torso to rotate like this, I'm cutting off energy to his arm to resist the pull down. Why do I want his arm to have trouble? I want him to want to pull back. Not even push against me. He can't cut it. He pushes against me. A good block. The reason he can't push against me is because my back foot is going directly into that line of resistance. What reactions would he possibly have from this position? He could push against me, which will not work. He could lift up, which is not great because he opens his entire torso up to being struck. Or he could try to come down and back to his side. I pretty much know that those are his only 3 options. Some people will say, yeah, but he can hit you. He could kick you and he could punch you. He can't. I know you're thinking he can, but he can't. And the reason why is I'm controlling his wrist. If he tries to punch me, I'll just drop his arm down. He can't kick me because I can just pull his arm down. And he obviously is going to get that way because he needs his hip to be able to go in this direction. And so when you have somebody's wrist, you're controlling the other 3 pieces on the chessboard. So knowing that I could get it across, if you could just face me for a moment, if Dan did not move his torso, this becomes a very uncomfortable position for him. He isn't going to want to go this way. I can already tell he's trying to pull here. And then what I want is for him to want to pull back. If he pulls back, I want to go in the same direction. So slowly, I go here, I take his wrist, he wanted to go back, I bend his wrist and I lift his elbow up. Now, there's a couple of important points here. I grab his wrist, but I don't want to stay connected to the wrist. I want to go down to his hand and bend his wrist. Because if I only hold on to his wrist and try to lift up, he can pull his elbow in. Even if his elbow is going up, he can press down. I don't have the strength. So I need some tactical advantage if I can bend his wrist. He cannot push down. I mean, I can try and lift it up. I don't want to fight muscle to muscle, by the way. And that's okay because we're doing it slowly. But if you threw your punch at me and I pressed across, this is going to happen very quickly. You can see here, if he presses down, he's only making it worse for his wrist. Now, the next move in the kata, once I bring my hand across, this is the twist of the wrist, is to start to lift up the left hand, step into reverse cat, and punch down. So the timing would be something like this. Intend over to the side. Here comes the hand across my body. Start the palm up and pull him down. Now I'm a little far away from him, and that's why the kata has a step in towards him, because we need this distance to get control here. Once I have his hand out like this, given where he is, I need to get this hand over his back. And here I can then lock up with my right hand. Now, the reason I'm here and not here is because he can just go around it, go down and around it, just right there. I don't want him to go around me, so instead I lock myself right, I wedge myself right in here, and I've got a double lock on him. I've got a shoulder lock and a wrist lock. I can apply pressure on the wrist, I can lift the shoulder. Ideally, his locked arm should be on the center of his back and not here. His escape would be to get his hand in front of him. So that means from here on, this is a critical position. I cannot let him get his hand in front of him. This becomes a rudder. You can control somebody here. If he wants to go around me, I can just control whether he gets around me or not. And I'm being kind because I haven't fully applied the lock. So our movement is we soft hand block, lift, pull, and finish the lock. There's several ways we can treat the punch. We can go right for the block, grab, and push it across the body and swing it down and up. We can come over to that 1/3 and across to the opposite side here. He's probably going to want to pull it back, go back with it. See if you can get that wrist here. And now you must get the elbow higher than the shoulder. If the elbow stays here, you're not going to be able to push a strong person upward. But if you can get it up here, you've got a lot more control. Step first so that you have some pull power, and then come up with the final lock here. Control the elbow, and you can press. If you have problems from here in the pull forward, push the right hand away from you as you roll. And always try to slide your body into the groove right by the neck and the shoulder. And we can use it preemptively, coming across and then following the wrist back, sliding under. It's important to step first, pull the guy down, and lock up. Okay? Or I could be working it off of you, change your lead, and you're coming in with a strike, and I'm coming into the same position, taking the wrist up. Should an opponent attempt a second punch as you're trying to set up for the lock, simply pick it off with the hand coming across the body. And at this point, you could, if you wished, turn into what looks like the low block straight punch. I would tell you that when your hands are closed, you're doing an action with somebody and your hands are closed, you're not giving that person access to your core energy fields to be manipulated, nor are you able to manipulate them the same way as if your hands were open. When you see open hands, there's a very specific intention involved. Yes, you could do a bunkai and close your hands instead, and the majority of you will be able to deflect somebody's strike. That's not what's at issue. Because mainstream traditional practitioners don't understand the distinction between the energetic soft and hard, they're at a lack for viewing their bunkai with these very specific delineations. The open hand most likely is specifically trying to draw a charge off of an opponent. Why? To reduce their physical strength. When you can draw a charge off of somebody, they become more receptive to being pushed, pulled, torqued, and struck. Basically, if I can take your energetic shield away from you and I can strike you, that strike is going to be magnified by the loss of your ability to withstand that punch. All right? Look, if I said I was going to punch you right now as hard as I could in the belly, you'd tighten up. And if you did a lot of conditioning, you might have extra thick muscle right there. But if I were able to draw some of that electrical shield away from you, electromagnetic shield, and I were to step in and strike, I guarantee you that hit is going to seem unusually penetrative. This is why we get into these distinctions of hard and soft. There's a time when you want to prevent energy from being taken, and there's a time when you want to amass and throw a lot of energy or receive a lot of energy. The kata becomes even more interesting when you consider that movements done in the opposite direction are done slightly different. I really broaden this discussion in my latest book called Kiko, and I'm inviting people to join the dialogue. You have questions? Please ask away. I'm happy to lead you into this fascinating aspect of our training, inherent and embedded in most traditional kata. Tim.